Straight Talk audience. This is AI Gonzalo Lira, and this is Straight Talk, Cyber Cafe Edition.
Hello, what's up, guys? Welcome to Liberty Report with Professor Red Pill and Adam Maxwell. What is today's date, man, Adam?
It's 16th of July, 2025.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about government corruption, which is now in the spear of the new thing. Especially with the Epstein list, and Adam's got some personal stuff that he was dealing with on an international governance situation, UK and so on and so forth. But more or less, like I said, like this is the new norm. Is although they talk about change and progress and the new guy and the new thing and mega movements and if you can and what's the other phrase? Build back better and all this wonderful jazz. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you choose. Either way, government's going to steal from you and they're going to oppress you and put you down. That's the whole point of the Liberty Report, is to give you the news, the information, and the philosophy and all of the leadership and good jazz and stuff so that you can help understand the situation, prepare, and tackle these things as they come. So if you would like to, Mr. Mad Maxwell, Adam, go ahead and take her away from the Liberty Group.
Thank you. Well, you say, let's talk about government corruption. I say, let's talk about government. One and the same. There's no functional difference. It's an illusion of democratic order. We are told that we live under a system of justice, of democracy, and of progress, and that the institutions that are governing us are accountable, are rational, and are built for the public good. Yes, for your interest. We are fed this myth, this lie, that those in charge have earned their place because they are brilliant, disciplined, elite. Right? Lol, Lamau even. When we what I was thinking this podcast is going to be, we're going to cover, hopefully, Epstein, my situation, which is quite funny. Maxwell, the Ghislaine Maxwell, Adam Maxwell, no relation. It's not even my family name. Anyway, we're going to talk about government and the structure of it, and it's going to be kind of a primer into elite theory. So when we use this term elite theory, we're not speaking of excellence, but of position within the structure of rule. In case some people aren't aware, there is a ruling class. There are rulers and the ruled. This is not an ideological position, it's power realism. So in common speech, elite means the best. It's better than good, it's better than great, it's elite. But elite theory, it means only one thing: belonging to the class that rules. One does not require talent or intelligence to be elite. One only needs alignment with power. So elite theory is a description of how hierarchy is structured, and it's a value-free analysis. It doesn't say whether that hierarchy is virtuous, just how it actually works. And just final point before if you open the floor slightly, to clarify, we are not against hierarchy. Hierarchy is natural. We are against unnatural hierarchy, coercive hierarchy, a coercive economy. That is government.
Yeah, more or less. It's theft of taxes. And I mean, the thing is like from a very classic liberal or a libertarian standpoint, left or right in a sense, for the most part, you believe in limited government. As a libertarian, you believe in freedom of right, personal freedoms, rights, freedom of speech. And we're just seeing this get trampled upon in the UK, in the United States. I mean, although, with the whole immigration, mass immigration or whatever, there is a legal way and there is an illegal way. But the reality is because the government, there's so much bureaucracy in the American government, and it's so hard to obtain, work permits and freedom of movement. It makes it rather difficult for individuals to actually come to the United States, and they choose to come in illegally. But the problem is, we believe in the rule of law, and when you're sanctioning people that are committing identity theft, which is it's a felony. It's identity theft because they're obtaining false identifications, false records, false social security numbers. If you were a citizen of the United States and you did this sort of thing, you would go to federal prison for a long time, and fines. But recently, I guess Trump is talking about he's going to give amnesty to these individuals, because the reality is the federal government is broke, because it's bloated. The economy is bloated. They're fighting forever wars, which are against the libertarian, philosophy. And these wars cost money. Socialism costs money. Free give-me-dats, COVID relief, bailouts, government, obviously state and corporate powers being one through the 14th Amendment, which allows, basically state-sponsored terror and corporations, domestically and foreign. This costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to enforce laws. And every time legislator meets, Congress or state legislator, every time they pass a bill, just think of that as a paycheck, a blank paycheck that the government is writing to pass that bill, because the Congress is the purse. It's in the Constitution. And this is the reason why Trump has to give amnesty, because they can't afford to do mass deportations. It was a lie. Just like, oh, we have an Epstein list. Oh, there it is. It's gone. It never existed. It's a lie.
Epstein never existed. He was actually invented by the Democrats in a biolab in Ohio.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, whatever narrative you want to believe. Like I said, we're being joking, but he's saying that jokingly. We're it's funny, but I mean, whatever narrative you want to believe. You have the Warren Report and all this different stuff, and the government makes an official document, an official report of what happened whenever there's an issue or disaster or whatever, yada yada yada. We know it's bullshit, but the government has to at least save face and say, hey, we did it. Just like the fake and gay war that we the 7-day war. Is it 12-day war or 7-day war?
7-day war was 1967.
That's right. 12-day war. The Broken Sparrow or Broken Arrow.
Broken Spear is what I'm calling it. The
Broken Spear, that's what we call it. It was fake and gay. I mean, it's like, we're just going to shoot some bottle rockets and magic shows and firework display, and okay, rah, we did it. They gave forewarning on both sides. No one was injured or killed. Thank God. But it was fake and gay. Because hundreds of
people did die, but there were Iranians and Israelis. So
between Israel and Iran, yes, but when America got involved,
there was
no. Between America and Iran, it was like, it was just the magic show and the wonderful fireworks, work display. What I said beforehand, I said that on the news report, and I said that, in previous podcasts, I was like, welcome, be prepared for the magic show and the expensive firework display that comes after. And that's what happened. But go ahead, sorry.
You are correct. We are joking when we say that Epstein never existed, but we're also not. It's a narrative. For them to say the Epstein list never existed is to say, don't believe
published.
your lying eyes. Yesterday,
it's already been published. It's a public record, Adam. Literally, you could go look at it right now. I don't want to look it up because I obviously we don't want to get demonetized and banned on YouTube. But I mean, literally, you can literally Google it. There is a list. I'm not. We can't say that
Liberty Rising Group was the first channel, one of the first channels to publish the lists way back. Go on to Liberty Rising Group on Telegram, search in Epstein. You'll find the flight logs, everything. Every time there was a release, before any mainstream publication, before any even big channels, like as soon as it came up on Telegram, I was the first one to go and repost it. Now, maybe 5 minutes here or there, but right among the first. But right, we're joking, but we're not, because this is the nature of power. In the modern world, power is not exercised by law or by truth, but by fiat, by decree, by authority. Law, as Professor said, applies to you, the ruled, and it's selectively enforced at that. Fiat applies to the rulers. There is no equality before the law because the law is not fixed. It is a narrative. It is managed. It is mutable in the service of control. And this is the true face of modern governance. And it's not just the law that is completely mutable in the service of control, but truth itself. So another thing you can look up on my channel is I started to write a fictional novel, quasi-autobiographical. I've not made nearly sufficient progress, but I've got some of the basics down. The skeleton, we'll say. If you search in "the loving state," you'll find a series of quotes from fascist control, but it's just government. Your thoughts are your own, but we will help you think correctly. Obedience is the highest form of freedom. Truth is not discovered, it is provided. These kind of things. Evidence is not required for what is already known. Epstein killed himself. Evidence? What evidence? Oh, video? Okay, we're going to give you some video. It's not edited. Oh, it's edited? Well, doubt does not alter the truth. It only reveals disloyalty. The truth does not require your approval, only your acceptance. A bunch of quotes like this. If the facts do not support the law or our narrative, then the facts are incomplete. It's a total inversion of reality. It is an epistemic, an epistemology of subversion. And it means that because we are ruled by fiat, a single lie by an institutionally recognized actor becomes more legitimate than a mountain of empirical truth from a sovereign individual. And that's one of the reasons why we on the podcast and in Telegram and communities and just as people are so adamant about speaking truth to power, because no matter how often they repeat Epstein killed himself, that there is no Epstein list. So hang on, like we know damn well what you said just a month ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 months ago. Like, we've seen these things. We know these things. Like, it's complete crap. And what's more, if it wasn't complete crap, you'd be able to tell us, and you don't, which means we know it's complete crap.
Yeah, exactly the point to the T. I mean, it's all fake and gay at the end of the day. And like I said, it's I believe it was Chomsky who talked about manufacturing dissent, a book that he wrote, Manufacturing Dissent. And I think he was talking about these similar talking points that we're discussing currently. So if you want to check that out, I didn't read it, but I did read a lot. I had to study a lot of Chomsky, because I studied linguistics and English and political science. So they refer to him as the godfather, or the godfather of modern linguistics, and he's a very, very, very and unbelievably well articulated political scientist. Yes, he knows his stuff. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
So the ruling class. It's the ruling class, the elite, I'm using these terms interchangeably, they can generally be split or divided into two castes. You have the governing elite and the non-governing elite. So the heads of states, the bureaucrats, the central bankers, those who actually have the power, the will to change things, these are the governing elite. And the functionaries, the apparatchiks, university heads, NGO managers, media executives, these are non-governing elites. Going back to the godfather of linguistics and things, going back even further, Karl Marx. He was wrong, but not entirely. He tried to describe a class struggle between capitalists and workers, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. I believe that he got the dynamics wrong, but the instinct wasn't entirely useless. There is a class divide, but it's not between employer and employee. It's between the rulers and the ruled. It's those with sovereign power and those subject to it, so the subject class and the ruling elites. Marxism ultimately empowers the state. It feeds the very class that it pretends to oppose. And this is one of the main reasons why we reject Marxism, and in fact reject all ideologies that obscure the reality of power. So we are both libertarian. I identify more as an anarcho-capitalist, a world where voluntary association, not fiat coercion, is the organizing principle. And this is the difference. Under a Marxist analysis, the person who puts his blood, sweat, tears, and capital into building a workshop and is successful enough that he's able to offer a job to someone else, and he's able to work in the workshop, gain skills, but build things for the workshop and shop owner to sell. Under Marxist analysis, this is unjust oppression. Under anarcho-capitalism, so long as that's voluntary, that is not only justified, but a good thing. And this is what generates economic growth and production, and it's mutually beneficial for the capitalist and the employee and everyone who enjoys the fruits of those labors. It's not surplus value stolen, all of this. But again, this analysis does of oppressed and oppressor does kind of have some truth to it when we're looking not at who rules the world. And it's a class. It's not a conspiracy. It's also not a single cabal. The global managerial elite, the technocrats, bankers, lawyers, bureaucrats, intelligence handlers, think tank clerks, the high priest of a quasi-human rights, they don't all meet in secret basements. They don't need to. They all, because they all pull together. They act together and protect each other when a genuine threat emerges. They do not need to be bound by ideology. They're not bound by ideology. They're bound by function to maintain their class dominance.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, brother.
The modern world is not ruled by elected government. This is one of their narratives we exist within and believe. The modern world is ruled by an integrated power complex that I and others refer to as the cathedral. Let's have a look. I've got here seven castes. Academia, which defines acceptable truth. Media, which shapes perception. Bureaucracy, which implements will without accountability. Courts, which adjudicate power through legal mysticism. Non-government organizations launder ideological operations, often as humanitarian.
Yep.
Intelligence services, they enforce, surveil, blackmail, disrupt. And number 7, transnational bodies. They issue policies from above nations, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the IMF. These institutions are not separate. They're factional, but functionally unified. And their shared interest is in maintaining the system of elite rule. So the cathedral is not referring to the government per se, as you've got what's American civics. You've got the executive, the legislative, the administrative, the Congress, the House, the president.
They actually have sorry to cut you off, but under constitutional law, there's only 3 branches of the government. But under the 14th Amendment and through George Washington, when he created the cabinet, he created administrative agencies, which created a 4th branch of the government, which is unconstitutional. But now we have 4. So, and you basically exactly mentioned all 4 of them.
And I mentioned earlier 7, whom...
so 7 more. The 3 more, because technology, mainstream media, all that. Yeah.
So the cathedral refers to this self-reinforcing complex of government power. And this is the real state. It's not a conspiracy, but a self-replicating organism of elite consensus, not held together by bloodlines. Well, not necessarily. We can get into that another time, but by a shared epistemology.
Mhm.
It rewards conformity, it punishes deviation, and it cloaks power in procedural neutrality.
No, 100%. I mean, this is modern governance. I mean, we started seeing this through the end of the Industrial Revolution, but more or less we saw it during World War II. Actually post World War One is when we started
World
seeing the
War
industrialization,
II,
and
World War II
that
was
was the climax of it. Yeah,
huge
it was the climax. Like that's what
because
literally that's what built up Germany. Germany was built up by the 7 pillars that you've listed. That's how the Austrian painter came to power. Literally, it's
so
through yeah.
before there was a post-war power synthesis. These competing belief systems were hollowed out and replaced with performative contradictions like diversity, equity, inclusion, surveillance, radicalism, centralization. These performative contradictions to neutralize resistance and fracture cohesion. As a result, populations are disoriented, identities are manufactured, and perception is outsourced to technocratic systems. This ideological incoherence by design creates subversion through synthetic belief. No dominant ideology governs the system. Instead, synthetic subversion or engineered confusion governs populations through ambiguity, distraction, and incoherence. It's kind of a Huxley version. But the important thing is that ideology becomes irrelevant and function replaces belief. In the post-war synthesis, there was a functional convergence of these power nodes. Institutions like Zionism, post-Nazi deep state remnants, and the Vatican have all morphed into interoperable subsystems of a shared and post-war supranational regime. Zionism is a hard power node, intel, paramilitary, geopolitical leverage. Ex-Nazis, and if you look at like the space program, it wasn't really America versus Russia. It was American German Nazis versus Russian German Nazis. Black operations, intelligence assets, these are who formed Gladio and the CIA roots. And the Vatican is a moral diplomatic legitimacy and spiritual cover. All of these integrate into a CIA, Mossad, MI6, NGO architecture. They are tactically indistinguishable. They do not share ideology or origin, but they're tactically aligned. And I'll get into this later on. They have the same intelligence-based statecraft, risk-based destabilization, global financial conduits, narrative and perception management, and prioritization of system stability over truth or moral doctrine. The real system is supranational. It's not nation-state oligarchy, but a transnational governance infrastructure optimized for continuity of control, not ideological clarity. Democracy, nationalism, activism, these are simulated containers, pressure valves within the system. It's important that we're not living under competing ideologies, but inside a converged control matrix where every legacy institution has been repurposed into a subsystem of a supranational machine.
Yeah, I mean that's well put, well articulated, and that's pretty much to the T what is going on. There's too many, like I said, there's too many. The population density is too big, too great. There's too many regional powers and superpowers and rising superpowers, or I guess rising regional powers, for there to be any one particular cabal of people running things. I think, and I think you kind of pointed that out to an extent. But
there are many cabals.
Right, there are many cabals, and at the end of the day, they do rely on each other in some capacity or some form through fiat, through trade, through some fashion. And they like I said, they have Trump has direct line to Moscow. DC has direct line to Moscow. They had direct line to Tehran. They can communicate directly to these leaders across the globe, all over, any 24 hours a day. So I mean, it's not as if like, I mean, when those lines are cut though, however, they do occasionally get cut. When they do cut, that's disaster. I mean, that's very big deal, because that means that these countries are no longer talking to each other and they're going to kill each other. And sometimes they talk through diplomatic channels as well, indirectly, and they were doing that with Tehran and through Qatar and Israel.
Not in
the
their
United
interest
States.
to kill each other, right?
Correct.
What
It's all
defines
about money.
it's about money and class interest.
Mm-hmm.
And there are winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
But again, what defines the class, the elite, is they always pull together. It's not a monolith, but a convergent class entity.
Yeah.
So, one thing that we talk about is that we're less bothered about the people and more concerned about the structure. They seek to they seek to maintain the hierarchy and its structure.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, what was the House of Cards he talked about earlier in the series? He said that there are people that are seeking money, and he said there are people that are seeking power. And people that are seeking money are easily corruptible and easily controllable, but those that are seeking power are immovable and they cannot be controlled. And
So
that's go ahead.
There's many ways to express a hierarchy of power. I'm going to go with one that I have less elaboration on, and then we can go to my second model, which is a bit more tangible. So at level 6, you've got this illusion of choice: elected governments, political parties, mainstream academia and media. It's an interface, a job. Their job is to sell the simulation, not to govern it. Level 5, institutional puppetry, right? UN, NATO, WEF, NGOs, think tanks, regulatory bodies. These are legitimacy machines, translating fiat into policy under the appearance of consensus or public interest. Above them, you've got financial cartels and global institutions, the Rothschilds, the Warburg, Schiff, IMF, Bank of International Settlements, World Banks. These are instrumental in constructing the global debt matrix. They don't own everything, but they control liquidity and flow, which often matters more than nominal ownership. Above them, you have the aristocratic oligarchy. You've got the black nobility, like the Orsini, the Breakspear, Colonna, Aldo Brandini. You've never heard of these. These are families claiming divine or papal right, often invisible to modern public discourse. They operate transgenerationally, and allegedly, they sit above the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Look up those names. You'll find a lot of them were popes in the past. Orsini, Breakspear, Colonna, double N, and Aldo Brandini, and there's many, many others. Above them, you have esoteric and occult control. You've got Jesuits, Vatican elite, secret societies like the Rosicrucians, Freemasons, Skull and Bone societies. These are the guardians of ideological, spiritual, and symbolic frameworks of control. Not all members are high-ranking, most are covert. The power lies in ritual, secrecy, and the transmission of mythic authority. And above them, at the top, level 1, is the metaphysical allegiance. This is Baphomet. This is the Nephilim, the negative entities, Satan's children. It's non-human or non-material principalities. You can take this symbolically or literally to describe the ancient continuity of power or inhuman coldness, however you wish to.
Yeah, and it's very dark and it's inhumane. I mean, that's the reality, is that they become detached with reality, detached with society. I mean, think about it. If you are the type of individual that does not have remorse or any type of what's the word? Philanthropy.
Humanity.
Some type of humanity, but philanthropy, understanding. And I'm not necessarily saying like welfare, socialism, or anything like that, but even in libertarianism, they believe in philanthropy. I mean, like the church giving back to the community, people donating money because you give it free and will instead of taxation. You're giving your money, your earned money and your wealth, free will to charity. It is what it is. I don't know what your belief is on that, Adam, because I know
it's quite interesting. I was reading something the other day that said 150 years ago, the ruling families of America, these big oligarchs, they actually had much more philanthropic altruism to the nation, because they recognize the nation as a stake of ownership. And again, they rule transgenerationally. So they said, this is my country. I own 10% of the GDP. I own all the rail. So I'm going to want the best for my country, for my children and grandchildren, and it's my fucking country. Whereas with the growth of the Leviathan state to just complete insanity levels, they've actually crowded out the influence of these families, and the state is even more uncaring and even more evil than the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, any of these. Like, the state is really the great enemy here. We're talking about, what would you rather, Rockefeller Foundation, who are bad, or BlackRock and Vanguard and Palantir, who are worse?
Yeah. I mean, even the like Gates Foundation, like we do see like some dark stuff in there, but they do give a lot of charitable donations to certain types of organizations and education and research.
But it's typically not so like, I haven't done deep dives into it, but my understanding is it's philanthropy. We're gonna give away our money, which really means spend it in order to subvert the world and society to the image of Gates, who absolutely is on the Epstein list. Absolutely. That's 100%. Why his wife divorced him.
Yep. 100%.
So
I mean, it's a public list. You can see it. You can go Google it. We're not gonna put it here. Go to the Liberty Rising group. It's on there. Everything's on there. You can go look at it. Continue, brother.
It is to say that they want to give away their wealth, to spend it to increase their power, to position, especially the Gates Foundation, which goes to the children and whatnot, to position their power, to maximize that for future. That's why Gates owns, or Gates Foundation or whatever, he owns so much American farmland. Many businesses, many companies. Like, it's not for the good of people. It's for the good of Gates.
Control. Control. I mean, that you bring that up, because like Georgia, like where I'm at right now, it's a very libertarian government. Like they allowed any foreigner to come in and buy land and everything, and apparently they had to put like a stop to foreigners coming in and buying farmland. And the reason why is because these foreigners that were coming in and buying it were from like India, from China, and they were like, what they were worried about is that they were going to exploit it. You know what I mean? Exactly. So they had to put a cap, and they were like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work, because like, you know, this land needs to stay within Georgians so that we can make sure that they have viability. Because a vast majority of Georgians, they have farms that they produce to offset their cost of living. So they'll
subsistence farms. They'll grow in their garden cucumbers and garlic and herbs, and maybe they've got a walnut tree, and they'll harvest those and either store them in their basement or give them to their friends. And you know, there's that.
A lot of it's philanthropy. A lot of it, because we're a libertarian state, so we don't have welfare. So a lot of people will give,
I've got a walnut tree. I'll give you some walnuts. You know, your oranges have grown. I don't know if they grow oranges there, but you know, excellent. Give me some of those. So this is community, because you don't have the totality of totalitarian state, which is there and imposing on everything, and it hasn't crowded out community, informal bonds and relationships. The other thing about these bonds, informal relationships, etc., they don't show up in the GDP. So what will happen is, in the West, people will say, oh, look how poor, whatever it is, they don't have high GDP, because so much of, but this is wealth. It's wealth to have an apple tree in your garden and to go out and grab some. And, you know, the grapes are ready to harvest. Your friends come over, you each get buckets, you process the grapes, you make your own wine. Hey, here's a bottle of wine, friend, on me. You know, I made it myself on the grapes that grow around my house. This is such an enormous level of wealth that us, the peasants in the West, you know, I can't grow any grapes in my apartment, which is dark and stingy. I don't even have a garden.
I mean, we have like my university, we have I just realized I was sitting there smoking. I'm trying to quit, but I was smoking. I was like, oh my God, this is a grape tree. It was around the entire fence. And I was like, they're actually starting to grow, and I'm like, when these ripen, I'm just gonna just pluck a couple, just for shits and
Vine.
giggles. Yeah,
Grapevine.
grapevine. Sorry, tree. You see how dumb I am. But yeah, you can see the little grapes.
A
And I'm like
Western
holding them. I'm
pig.
like, oh, yeah. I'm like, these things are gonna be nice. They have walnut trees growing outside of a restaurant, and you can literally go up there and just pick them. Nobody's gonna say anything. You know, I mean, in America, it'd be
And this
theft.
is
You get
this is
handcuffed and be put
wealth.
in prison. Yeah, yeah.
It's not like there is a material poverty sometimes. Let's not. I'm not saying let's ignore. Having $10,000 in my bank account. I'd rather have that than 10. But it is to say that life is more than the GDP. We talked about this in the last episode. Back to ruling class again. There's other ways that you can define it: governing elite, non-governing elite, apparatchik, narrative, supranationals. You can also talk about there's more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got the surface level. Democracies and nation states, parliaments, presidents, elections. We have the political parties debating nonsense within their kosher matrix. It's all theater. As I said before, it's an interface for public consumption. Then you've got the mid layer, the bureaucracy, intelligence, courts, the media. These are the people who do not change after elections. Some call this the permanent state, the deep state, the state. This is the true executive function of modern power. And their job is to enforce class interests, again, the ruling class, while pretending to administer public mandates. So the police to protect and serve the ruling class.
Yeah.
Above them, you've got the supranational layer: UN, WHO, IMF, EU, WEF, NGOs. These are not accountable to any electorate, whatever that means. They coordinate this transnational consensus. These are the instruments of global fiat. They issue laws without legislating it. Then you've got the shadow interface: technology, finance, intelligence cartels, BlackRock, Palantir, In-Q-Tel, Vanguard, central banks. These are, as I said before, the real governors of liquidity. But now we've got data, surveillance, and enforcement. And finally, an ideological enforcement arm. Media, social platforms, universities. Their job is not to inform, but to enforce narrative consensus reality. Right? So you are trapped within this constructed matrix. You don't go and dissent. And if you do, then you get flagged. And when you get flagged, for what? For threatening this unity of purpose of the ruling class. So there are, again, many factions: Zionists, neoliberals, neoconservatives, globalists, technocrats. Write in comments, write in our chats more. And they differ in method and priorities. Neoliberals, their current priority is Ukraine. Neoconservatives, their current priority is more Zionism. Right? They differ, but they have a shared class interest. And when someone deviates from their matrix, they act together. And this is what defines them as a class. This is why elite theory matters. It explains why enemies will band together when confronted with your sovereignty. So again, this cathedral is not a metaphorical conspiracy. It is a structural and procedural system of self-justifying institutions operating across academia, media, government bureaucracy, non-government organizations, legal apparatuses, corporations, and supranational bodies, UN, WHO, etc. It enforces narrative control not through truth, but through institutional credentialing and ritualized procedures. So once a credentialed functionary speaks, the system treats it as axiomatic. unless another institutionally approved authority contradicts it, which they never do when the system is protecting itself.
Yeah, I mean that's probably like a good metaphor would be what like dog eats itself or chews its leg off in order to get out of like a chain or whatever kind of metaphor, in a sense. Am I just being retarded? I don't
No,
know.
I don't understand the metaphor you've presented.
Oh, okay. Well, an animal when it gets trapped, it'll literally just it'll chew its arm off. Like it'll chew like its foot off or its hoof or whatever, to get out of the trap. And it's like, yeah. I mean, the government is like literally like 'cause that's what you're seeing is like they're throwing each other under the bus, when it's convenient.
Kind of, yeah. I'm saying they're not throwing each other under the bus. I'm saying there's elite convergence, that there are factional differences, and this is the politic. Yes, the Democrats are fighting the Republicans, but it's within the Democrat-Republican matrix.
Right.
These factional differences dissolve when class interests are threatened.
But what I mean is, it's like they use the system of control. So like the metaphor would be like the dog is is them, the handcuff is liberty, it is the people, and they're going, literally the by gnawing the hand off, they're basically trying to sever the people in a sense. You know what I mean? Like people are trying to keep the dog in check, but they will cannibalize themselves, which they have done. Because we see that with them. Like basically where I'm getting at, the point I'm getting at is that the MAGA movement right now is failing, because they're now I mean, you saw Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk came out and was literally like, one second, he was like, yeah, like basically Trump is a yeah, and he was like, he's on the list, and it's like, well, I mean, yeah, he's on the list. I mean, we've seen the list, you published it. Liberty Group, Rising Group, he's on the itineraries. We're not necessarily saying this list is nefarious or like leading or concluding to any type of behaviors, but there is a list. It is public, and this is an itinerary where they were flying on planes on multiple occasions to islands or to other areas, and there is a relationship, and they were on a plane known as the Lolita Express.
The Lolita
nickname the Lolita Express. Yes.
I thought it was its real name. It's crazy. If it was a nickname, it was like a really open nickname. Like,
yeah. It probably was referred to that, like literally referred to that, like legitimately preferred. Yeah. And a lot of the people in the MAGA administration, and I'm talking about, when I say a lot, I am saying a very significant amount of people within Trump's MAGA administration contacts and like second degrees and third degrees are on that list. That's insane. So I mean, you're like thinking, why is this list? Why did they just shove it over and blah 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 blah? Because it implements people. I mean, it's like don't worry, we're gonna investigate it. We're gonna investigate ourselves, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
They don't care about if you're right. Truth is not power in the modern regime. They don't care if you have evidence. Power sustains itself by suppressing the correction of error. They don't care if you follow the rules. Again, there is no evidence beyond what we accept as valid, the loving state. The rules are for you. Fiat is with them. It is for them. We live under a system that punishes clarity, criminalizes sovereignty, and labels autonomy as dissent and mental illness. But the more clearly we name it, the more we dismantle its power. It only rules because it's not seen. We know we are ruled, not by the best, not by the brightest, but by those who protect their position through deception, coercion, and converged institutional fraud. What's important to note is we will not obey. I'd like to go into my case as a case study in regime convergence.
I'm going to go ahead and put you as the solo so that you can go ahead and break that down for us.
So in the United Kingdom in 2021, I was kidnapped under an invented psychiatric pretext. No warrant, no hearing, no due process. Specifically, Adam presented with grandiose ideas about setting up a business with likely themes of success and approaching highly placed people / foreign governments, hence his referral to us, to the Ministry of Love and the Thought Police, which he refused to engage with. I refused to engage with them. I don't answer questions. Where's your warrant? No warrant. I was targeted and then ultimately attacked. I was locked up, handcuffed. I had weapons brandished inches from my face. They refused to tell me why I was being disappeared. I was trafficked to a secure location for interrogation about my lawful and legitimate business, where I was tortured and silenced. I'm not going to go too much into my story now. I've spoken on it in the past, and I intend on speaking more in the future. I'm looking at the regime convergence here. I fled the country to Bulgaria. I was threatened. They said, "What are you doing here? You have no right. We will get you again. You will never be safe. We will kill you." This is when I was being tortured, bleeding internally, right? I fled to Bulgaria and sought asylum. Open and shut case, right? I've got in black and white the British government admitting, saying, we know we're violating his rights, but we're going to do it anyway because we need to attack his business. So I presented the primary record. I presented objective, clinical, medical documentation beyond refutation that torture occurred, that I was kidnapped by the government without a warrant, without legitimacy, and they even admit, yeah, well, there's no... But they say it doesn't matter because one apparatchik, one of them said, hey, Adam's business sounds incredible. It is literally unbelievable. That's what happened to me. The point is that we live in a world where we're sold the lie. You have human rights. You have the right to life, to liberty, to privacy, to asylum. But look at the color of my skin. You don't have the right to asylum because, again, my human rights, these are just fictions, bullshit for them to manipulate for their benefit. If you have whiter skin, you're not eligible for asylum. That's only for people in the countries that they've actually bombed or whatever. My appeal for international protection in Bulgaria was refused without process and without hearing. I was not allowed to appeal it. Actually, I did. I appealed it. They said, yeah, we'll summon you. I'm phoning them. When's my summons? Knock at the door. You're being deported. What the heck? I have a court case. This is on appeal. No, that was 4 weeks ago. Get out the country. What the hell? This is illegal. Yeah, it is. Sorry. Orders are orders. What? It's been a few years now. I've escalated the matter all the way to the United Nations. You want to know what's absurd? I am at the center of an international conspiracy all the way to the United Nations because one UK state apparatchik terrorist made a lie. That's it. The United Nations, I got a stack of submissions about this big. They rejected my submission within 2 hours, which I've also got a 3-page document. They said within 2 hours, they say, we're rejecting this. You haven't exhausted domestic remedy. I say the first document I submitted to you in exhaustion of domestic remedy is from my lawyer saying, this is what's happened. He's exhausted domestic remedy. In addition, I also submitted all of the paperwork proving I exhausted domestic remedy. The point is, all the way up to the United Nations, they knew about, they didn't read it. They complained about this and ensured they knew the gravity of the case, that here's a 3-page document. Instead of after 2 days, it's now after 1 week, they rejected my submission. This time, they didn't even provide a single justification. They just said, we're not doing this for you. You cannot appeal. What the heck? So across all jurisdictions, from the regional government in the UK to the national government in the UK, all the way up to the parliament, to multiple MPs, to all sorts, across Bulgaria, across all the way to the United Nations. I've encountered the same pattern: procedural shutdown, narrative enforcement, and institutional alignment. Not because I broke the law. There's not been a single credible, substantiated, or otherwise allegation that I've broken the law, only that I've broken some illusion. So this is what I'm talking about: elite convergence. The UK authorities, I have the documentation. They say, yeah, this general practitioner lied. They knew their own functionaries fabricated falsehoods. They say, we don't have any evidence. We don't have any statutory justification whatsoever to do anything. But this person who we know is lying about this, we're going to use that to convince a magistrate to act against Adam without nothing. And that's why I was disappeared, kidnapped, and tortured. Bulgaria shut down my claim without process to avoid political confrontation, and the United Nations have rejected me without review because acknowledging me would implicate the system, which includes them. The important thing here is they are not aligned because of a secret meeting. I am the center of an international, supranational conspiracy, not because they're smoking cigars in the back room, but because of this immune system response, a class preservation reflex. Every institution downstream from the power hierarchy, which is actually ascending, right? So from the GP to the thought police to the police to all the way up to the United Nations, justifies itself based on the output of the last, regardless of merit. And this is how one fucking unaccountable general practitioner lie becomes the cause of an international, supranational persecution all the way to the United Nations. It is governance by narrative. What matters is who says something, which is the ruling class, not what is said. Why no one is stopping it, and this is what the whole build-up, is because it's not your fucking system. It doesn't belong to you. It will never belong to you. It is their fucking system, and they absolutely hate you. Every actor in their system is incentivized to uphold the institutional hierarchy, is terrified of breaking protocol. They're punished for confronting elite lies, and they are shielded from liability by bureaucracy. This is why they won't punish this GP, not because they believe her. They even acknowledge she's a proven, bold-faced fucking liar, but because punishing even her threatens this architecture of institutional legitimacy. They haven't even punished a social worker, because, again, they don't care if you're right. We don't live in an age of law and reason, if we ever existed in that in the first place. We live under the fiat regime: truth by decree, legitimacy by branding, and guilt by deviation. So I'm going to leave it with a slightly more constructive note. There is no use in begging the system to protect you from itself. Instead, we must build parallel structures. This is Agora. We must empower sovereign networks. We must expose the rituals of legitimacy that hide domination. Abandon this misconception of reform, and never, never mistake obedience for safety.
That was well put, well articulated. Couldn't say anything more. And like I said, my situation. I still need to follow up with it. How I went through somewhat of a similar situation. And I was actually called. I called, and they screwed me over, and it is what it is. So it is what it is. They're not your friends. The government is not there to help you. The government is there to oppress you. That's it in a nutshell. So don't give them ammunition. Don't help them. You know, of course, obey the
Don't
law within the
don't
yeah,
legitimize them. Don't obey the law.
correct,
Obey natural law. Obey
yeah,
morality.
correct,
Don't
correct.
go and punch a cop because it's just
No,
foolish.
no, no, no.
It's not immoral,
Pay your
but it's
taxes.
foolish.
Yeah, I mean,
Avoid
pay your
taxes if you
taxes.
can.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah, but
evade. That's
avoid it.
illegal.
But avoid it.
Avoid
You
it.
know, try to
Avoid it.
find ways to avoid taxes, and avoiding taxes in the sense of leaving the country and going to a country that doesn't tax you to death, doesn't steal all your money. Which is like Republic of Georgia, for instance, or the country of Georgia. We have like one of the lowest tax rates in the world. You know, there are other countries that have low tax rates too, but the freedoms of speech and the levels that the certain rights that you have here, trump anywhere else. So you have a low tax rate. You literally have like a lot more rights in this country than anywhere I've
You
ever been.
have more rights where there is less government, because
Correct.
government is to infringe on rights. The state is the negation of liberty. So the stronger, the more powerful the state, the less liberty you have. And ain't no such thing as rights. Not really. There's just disagreement, and we disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So that it is one thing to note that the United States of America, you don't have you have constitutional rights that are kind of protected by the Constitution. Doesn't mean the government's not going to violate them, but it does mean actually you kind of maybe have some ability to challenge that and recourse. Whereas
You
where I'm
can
from, for
challenge it.
example, you cannot.
Yeah.
Doesn't they just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen your situation. You've gone over it, and obviously there's no redress. There's no right. There's no way to really. You've exhausted all your rights, or you've exhausted all of your legal
Everything.
Right. Yeah.
There's two options left, which I'm not going to talk about here. I talk about it
Correct.
in the
Yeah.
Liberty Rising group. I
Yeah.
got two options left. I'm pursuing both of them, but I'm really at the complete end of international remedy.
Yeah. The legal process. And like
I've exhausted the legal process. There's now only a non-aligned. Okay, there's now only a diplomatic or non-aligned state. I have to prostrate myself or present my situation before a non-aligned state. Again, the question is a non-aligned state? Is it am I threatening their interest or am I threatening their opposing faction? So if I'm threatening their opposing faction, if I'm arming them with my case, then maybe, and this is the hope, maybe they accept me and assist in a number of ways. And this is the only way for me to do anything at this point.
Yeah. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Thank you as always, Adam, for coming on, giving your input. You're much more knowledgeable than I am. I mean, I've got a higher education in this, but leadership, mostly policy. But you are very well knowledgeable, very well read, in this particular field, especially in economics. What is the populist delusion? Yeah. You're muted, though, by the way, if you want to talk.
It's just The Populist Delusion. It's one really good book. I recommend it often. This podcast has been a primer and case study in elite theory. I've gone beyond this book, of course, but it's a great book. Highly recommend it. It's definitely taught me a lot, and very revealing of the delusions and the illusions and the power structure. And this is really how we have to recognize the world to be. And so I thank you very much, Professor. I do hope everyone gets a lot out of this. I hope it's been educational, entertaining, informative, and that those core takeaways of sovereignty, liberty, don't trust their system, don't legitimize their system. Their system will perpetuate itself at your expense.
Correct. And like I said, these systems are designed for people to, like I said, manufacturing consent with Noam Chomsky about the mass media and the propaganda, the whole purpose of that book. And like, if you read it, I didn't actually read it, so I'm not like saying like, oh, no. but I do know the gist of it. And it basically discusses exactly what we're talking about. It's using the media, which is, I guess, the fifth branch of the government. To You went through seven, obviously. So it's like the fifth,
Well,
basically,
it's just
branch of the government.
ways to slice things. You can define it as four. Is the media the
Yeah,
fourth branch? Is the administrative?
yeah.
Is the fit? Right, there's many ways
We
to
know
slice
both.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we know both Churchill and Austrian Painter utilized the mass media to propagate the state and to control the masses, because that's how the manipulation. 1984, George Orwell talks about this as well in a fictional setting.
1984, Huxley. There's two different ways of, again, it's matrix and it's menticide and it's
The cave.
epistemic
Yeah.
warfare. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just, this is what they use for people to believe in the system. And the thing is when people no longer believe in the system that no longer serves them, but it never really was intended to serve them, what does it happen? It collapses. And that's what we see happening. We see this happening in real time. That I predicted with hashtag
this is
2025.
this is what they're talking about with MAGA. They're saying, and this is what Trump says. Stop talking about Epstein. So no,
No, of course
release the list or persecute people.
Talk about it more.
Talk about it more.
Shout
Absolutely.
it from the news. Yeah, shout it from the rooftops. Who cares? I don't give a shit. Freedom of speech, man.
The point is that I feel like this ought to be the watershed moment. That even MAGAtards recognize, hey, yeah, Trump really isn't our guy. He's the president of the United States of America. The government is our enemy. He's the president. He's covering up for it. Now, look, maybe people from above told him, hey, shut it down. And maybe there's valid reasons for it. I don't think so. I think let it open, be transparent, let the chips fall where they lie. But they're not going to do that because and this is the thing, because it's not about, it implicates Gates or this person or that person or Trump or it's about, it implicates the entire system, the entire ruling class. Everyone is involved. And that's why, and if they're not involved, then they'll be exposed. Some things will be vulnerable, exposed, and revealed. And it's just so dangerous for them that shut it down.
It's a messed up situation. Even if there wasn't enough evidence to support any type of wrongdoing, the government still has the ability to blanket pardons. And they could do a show trial and say, yes, we're sorry, this happened, we're pardoning, let's move on. It's like one of those things.
I mean, they could even do a special counsel, let it go for 5 years. After 5 years, you come with, look, there were some errors, and maybe these people who are now dead or out of the picture or whatever. Yeah, some people take the fall, but they can kick it down. There's all sorts of things they can do to manipulate it. But again, and hopefully that does occur. But I don't trust them to act against their interest. It's not.
Epstein was the fall guy, and the fall guy was unpersoned, and the defining word of unpersoned to the T. I mean, Roman style unpersoned, like I talk about when I broke this down 2-3 years ago about Gonzalo Lira, God rest his soul, was unpersoned. And he, again, I said he was going to be unpersoned, which he was. And then he was going, unfortunately, to be Roman style unpersoned. That was the last step. And I said, I just do not want to see that happen. And that's what happened to Epstein. He basically was Roman style prescription list, unpersoned. And that's where this unpersoning comes from that Gonzalo Lira was talking about. Is it comes from the Roman era of Caesar issuing prescription list, which means this is an enemy of the state. Anybody is allowed to go kill them, take their possessions, rape their women's, and destroy them and take their lands. That's what it was. And that's where we're in. We're at that point now in a Roman style collapse where Caesar's like, unperson them, be gone. In the Soviet Union, send them to the gulag. Or if the Austrian painter, send them to the work camp. We're at that level of fascism in the West. And I'm going to close it with that. Thank you guys for joining us. Links in description for Liberty Rising Group for the it's all their legacy group.
Follow
Did
on
I said
Telegram,
Liberty Rising
Locals,
group?
YouTube.
Yeah, all that jazz. And locals definitely. Rumble 3 gets you $3 off first month's membership. It's $1 for the first month. You can check it out. There's a lot of content. There's an unbelievable amount of content that is for members only, including an excerpt from my book, and you will get the full book like when it's done. I've wrote many chapters already. I think I'm gonna do 12, maybe 13. I'm not sure. And it would be a good book. I just need time. I'm working on a lot of stuff right now, guys. Especially we're doing a weekly podcast, so we gotta do a lot of research for this as well. It will get done. I will have it done for members. And of course, like there's gonna be merch and stuff like that. I'm gonna try to throw out some people too, coffee mugs, shirts, things like that. People that can receive it. You know what I mean? If they don't want to, you know, I'll ask them like, do you want a mug or shirt? Send one. Oh, yeah. Like, subscribe. Definitely like and subscribe. Make comments, and if you have anything you want to say, you can comment in the comment section. That does help algorithm. Trying to reach 500. Max Adam's trying to reach 500 on his YouTube. I think I'm at 49.50 right now on YouTube as of today. 500 allows me to monetize. And Rumble, we're pretty close. I know on my Rumble we're at 90. I want to say we're at 97, 98. So we're pretty close to that 100 membership threshold, which is cool because then that allows me to do it gives me more privileges with the Rumble account. And of course we got people on subscribers on what is the other one what is it called? Twitch. Sorry. Twitch, and then we got MGTOW TV and Odyssey for those that watch after, and then we're on Facebook as well. Thanks guys. Take care. Say good. Well, look at the kitty cat. He's waving. Kitty's waving to us. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, kitty. We got a comment. Shalom from Billy Watts. Is that your
Peace.
member?
Unsure. It means peace.
Oh. Yeah, peace. All right.